Most people go through life believing they understand themselves, but psychology suggests something very different. Hidden motives influence our decisions, unconscious patterns shape our behavior, and forces we rarely notice can quietly determine the direction of our lives. The purpose of this channel is not simply to provide information, it is to help you see what is usually hidden. If you're fascinated by psychology, philosophy, human behavior, and the deeper workings of the mind, subscribe to Doctrine of Mind and join us on this journey of understanding. And stay with us until the end of today's video, because the most important insight is often the one people discover last. Now let's begin.
You are told that family is your safest harbor. The reality? Your bloodline provides the most perfect camouflage for a predator. Society preaches that blood is thicker than water, that your relatives are the ultimate sanctuary in a ruthless world. This is a comforting lie designed to keep the herd intact. The brutal truth of human nature is that the most catastrophic betrayals rarely come from your enemies. They come from those who share your dinner table. They have the master keys to your psychological defenses. I am going to expose 3 specific archetypes within your own family who are actively dismantling your life right now. By the time we finish, you will look at your next family gathering and see exactly who holds the knife, but the most dangerous one. They are probably the person you defend the most. Let us strip away the sentimentality. When you read the cold, calculated philosophy of Niccolò Machiavelli or observe the unforgiving laws of evolutionary psychology, a terrifying picture emerges. We are biologically conditioned to trust our relatives. It is an evolutionary imperative known as kin selection. You share genetics, therefore you should share loyalty. But this biological default creates a massive, exploitable blind spot in your armor. Machiavelli warned that a sovereign must fear internal conspiracies far more than external armies. An enemy has to cross the moat, scale the walls, and fight the guards to reach you. A family member is already inside the throne room. They know your childhood fears. They know your insecurities. They know exactly how to induce paralyzing guilt because they are the ones who originally installed the buttons. We are dealing with the proximity of power. The closer someone is to your emotional core, the less effort it takes for them to completely destroy it. In the wild, sibling rivalry is not a phase of harmless childhood bickering. It is a vicious, life-or-death competition for limited resources. The mother's attention, the father's protection, the largest share of the food. As adults, this zero-sum game does not vanish. It simply evolves. It becomes a highly sophisticated psychological competition for status, dominance, and control over the family narrative. If you treat your family with blind, unquestioning loyalty, you are violating the fundamental laws of self-preservation. You are handing a loaded weapon to people simply because you happen to share a grandparent. It is strategic suicide. Let us expose the first archetype. You probably spoke to them this week, and you likely walked away from the conversation feeling completely drained. Number 1. The Devourer of Obligation. There is a specific person in your family who does not ask for your help. They demand your total sacrifice as if it is their birthright. This is the weaponized victim. They are the chronically helpless sibling, the perpetually wronged parent, the cousin who is always one bad break away from total ruin. They do not want to be saved. They want to be carried, and they want you to break your own back doing it. Look closely at how they operate. In nature, there is a fascinating and ruthless organism called the strangler fig. It begins its life as a tiny, harmless-looking seed dropped high in the branches of a massive, healthy host tree. Slowly, it sends roots down the trunk, wrapping around the host in a tight embrace. For years, they look like one unified tree, but the strangler fig is quietly stealing the sunlight. It is siphoning the water from the soil. Eventually, the massive host tree starves, dies, and rots away entirely, leaving nothing but the hollow, towering cage of the parasite. The Devourer of Obligation is the human equivalent of the strangler fig. They wrap themselves around your success, your stability, and your empathy. When you achieve something monumental, they do not celebrate you. Instead, they immediately present a new crisis to shift the focus back to their misery. Your forward momentum is an insult to their stagnation. They use the shared bloodline as an invisible, unbreakable leash. We are family, they say. You owe me. They offer nothing but dead weight, yet they demand a premium seat in your life. Machiavelli observed that men are driven by two principal impulses, love and fear. But there is a third, far more insidious impulse utilized almost exclusively by the weak: guilt. Guilt is a parasite that feeds directly on your morality. The devourer knows you want to be a good son, a good daughter, a dependable brother. They exploit your desire to be honorable to fund their endless irresponsibility. Every time you bail them out, lend them money you know you will never see again, or sacrifice your own peace to solve a problem they created, you are not acting out of love, you are acting out of conditioning. You are paying a ransom to a hostage taker who lives in your own mind. To understand how to handle this, you must look at historical power dynamics. Consider the ruthless pragmatism of the early Ottoman Empire. For centuries, a new sultan ascending to the throne would enact the law of fratricide. He would execute his own brothers. Why? Because a brother with a claim to power, who feels marginalized or entitled, is an eternal breathing threat to the stability of the entire empire. Civil wars would ravage the land if these loose ends were not severed. We no longer strangle our siblings with silk bowstrings. But the psychological equivalent of this act is absolutely necessary for your survival. You must execute the emotional hold this person has on you. You must systematically cut off their access to your guilt. If you do not set a boundary forged in steel, the devourer will drag you to the bottom of the ocean, and then complain that you are not swimming fast enough to save them. You must sever the supply line. When they call with their next inevitable crisis, you do not offer solutions. You do not offer money. You offer a cold, polite acknowledgement of their situation. That sounds difficult. I am sure you will figure it out. They will rage. They will launch a massive smear campaign against you to the rest of the family. They will paint you as the villain, the cold-hearted traitor who abandoned their own flesh and blood. Let them. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must never be afraid of a cruel reputation. If that cruelty is required to maintain order and strength, you must become entirely comfortable being the villain in their twisted narrative. Your peace is worth infinitely more than their unearned approval. What happens, though, when the threat is not wrapped in helplessness, but rather masquerades as friendly competition? How do you defend against someone who smiles in your face while quietly praying for your absolute ruin? Number 2. The Envious Mirror. This is the most vicious archetype you will ever encounter, and their hatred is born from pure, unavoidable comparison. In Robert Greene's Laws of Power, we are warned never to outshine the master. We are told to calculate our moves with friends. But with family, the dynamics of envy are microscopic, radioactive, and deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. You share the exact same origins. You ate from the same table. You were raised in the same financial background by the same parents. Therefore, your outsized success is not just an achievement, it is a blinding spotlight exposing their failures. If a stranger becomes a millionaire, it is a matter of luck or circumstance. If you become a millionaire, you completely shatter their excuses. If you get in incredible physical shape, build a beautiful marriage, or achieve mental clarity, your existence becomes a daily, intolerable insult to their ego. This is the sibling or the cousin who views your life as a zero-sum game. In their warped psychology, every piece of happiness you secure is a piece of happiness stolen directly from their plate. History shows us exactly where this leads. Look at the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt, specifically the legendary Cleopatra. We romantically remember her affairs with Caesar and Antony, but her rise to power was a masterclass in savage kin competition. Cleopatra did not just casually outmaneuver her siblings, she had to ruthlessly eliminate them to survive. Her brother, Ptolemy XIII, drove her into exile. She fought a war against him, resulting in his death, She later ordered the execution of her sister, Arsinoe, who had previously declared herself queen. Why such absolute brutality among siblings? Because proximity breeds the deadliest form of ambition. Arsinoe did not just want power, she wanted Cleopatra's power. The envious mirror in your family operates on the exact same psychological frequency. They want your throne. They will not lead an army against you. They will use subtle, untraceable psychological poison. Watch their micro-expressions when you announce good news. The smile that does not reach the eyes, the slight tightening of the jaw, the brief, almost imperceptible pause before they offer a hollow congratulation. They are masters of the backhanded compliment. You finally got that promotion. Wow, I guess your company really lowered its standards. Or they use their intimate knowledge of your past to anchor you to a weaker version of yourself. Imagine you are introducing your new high-status business partner to your family. The envious mirror will casually bring up a humiliating story from when you were 15. They mask it as nostalgia. It is not nostalgia. It is a calculated assassination attempt on your current identity. They want to remind everyone, but mostly themselves, that you are not special. They will actively try to sabotage your relationships. They will plant tiny seeds of doubt in your partner's mind. They will offer you terrible financial advice, masked as genuine concern. Are you sure you want to invest in that? You know you've never been good with money. They wrap their sabotage in the language of love and protection. They want to save you from taking risks, but what they are actually doing is keeping you chained to the floor so they never have to look up at you. You cannot fix the envious mirror. Envy is a terminal disease of the soul. It corrodes the vessel that contains it. If you try to pull them up to your level, they will subconsciously plunge a dagger into your back just to watch you fall. The only defense against this archetype is the absolute restriction of data. You must practice severe information control. Never share your victories with them. Never discuss your financial moves, your relationship milestones, or your deepest ambitions. When they ask how you are doing, you feed them mediocrity. Things are fine, just working a lot, same old routine. Give them nothing to compare themselves against. Deny them the fuel their envy requires. Starve their obsession by becoming a completely uninteresting gray wall. They will eventually seek out another target to measure themselves against, leaving you free to build your empire without a predator breathing down your neck. But what if the threat is not a sibling consumed by envy, or a relative drowning you in guilt? What if the person trying to destroy you is the very person who gave you life? Number 3. The architect of the lifelong dead. We arrive at the most untouchable idol in human society, the parent. Biology, religion, and culture have built an impenetrable fortress around the concept of parenthood. You are conditioned from birth to revere the people who brought you into this world. To question them is considered treason against nature itself. But what happens when the architect of your life becomes the architect of your psychological prison? There is a terrifying phenomenon in dark psychology regarding the toxic parent. They do not view you as an independent human being with your own destiny. They view you as a physical extension of their own ego, an asset, a piece of property. You exist to regulate their emotions, to fulfill the ambitions they failed to achieve, and to serve as a permanent, subordinate audience to their life. Consider the chilling history of Peter the Great, the Tsar who modernized Russia. He was a visionary, but he was also a ruthless, calculating tyrant. He had a son, Alexei. Peter demanded that Alexei be a mirror image of his own brutal, militaristic ambition. He wanted a weapon, not a son. But Alexei was quiet. He was studious. He wanted peace. He wanted to live his own life away from the blood and politics of his father's court. For Peter, this was not just a disappointment. It was a threat to his entire legacy. Alexei eventually fled Russia to escape his father's suffocating control. How did Peter respond? He did not send an army. He used the exact weapon toxic parents use today: manipulation disguised as parental love. Peter wrote letters to his son, promising absolute forgiveness. He swore on his honor and his faith that if Alexei returned home, he would be safe, loved, and allowed to live quietly. Alexei, possessing the biological blind spot of a child desperate for his father's approval, believed the lie. He returned. The moment Alexei stepped foot in Russia, Peter had him arrested. He stripped him of his titles. He threw him into the fortress of St. Peter and Paul. Peter then personally oversaw the brutal torture of his own flesh and blood, extracting false confessions of treason. Alexei died in a dark cell, broken and betrayed by the man who gave him life. Why did Peter do it? Because a child who refuses to conform to the parent's script is a direct challenge to the parent's supreme authority. The architect of the lifelong dead operates on this exact frequency, minus the physical torture. They use psychological torture. They install a system of control based on an unpayable, infinite mortgage. You know the phrase. You have heard it ring in your ears during arguments. After all I have done for you, I sacrificed my life for you. I put a roof over your head. Listen to the underlying frequency of those words. That is not the language of unconditional love. That is the language of a debt collector. That is a loan shark reminding you of the interest you owe. They weaponize the basic biological requirements of parenting, providing food, shelter, and clothing, and frame them as extraordinary acts of charity that you must repay with lifelong obedience. They use your empathy as a leash. When you attempt to establish a boundary, when you attempt to say no, or make a decision that contradicts their worldview, they do not debate you with logic. They attack your character. They suddenly develop mysterious health issues. They cry. They play the victim so flawlessly that you find yourself apologizing for simply trying to breathe your own air. Are you recognizing the pattern? This is the Machiavellian manipulation of morality. They construct a reality where your independence is defined as abuse against them. They make you feel that growing up and moving away is an act of violent betrayal. Evolutionary psychology explains this friction perfectly. It is the parent-offspring conflict theory. Biology dictates that a parent wants to distribute their resources in a way that maximizes their own genetic legacy, which often means extracting maximum compliance from the offspring. You, however, are biologically driven to seek your own autonomy and resources to build your own life. The friction is natural, but the toxic parent weaponizes this friction. They refuse to let the umbilical cord be cut. They replace the physical cord with an emotional one woven from guilt and obligation. If you succeed wildly, they will take the credit. You got that from my side of the family. If you fail, they will use it to reinforce your dependence on them. I told you that you were not ready for the real world. You need me. You cannot win a game where the dealer owns the board, deals the cards, and changes the rules every time you get a good hand. How does a ruler maintain control over a restless, resentful population? They use the oldest strategy in the empire builder's playbook: divide and conquer. Have you noticed how this parent rarely attacks you directly when the whole family is present? They operate in the shadows. They pull you aside to complain about your sibling. Then, they pull your sibling aside to complain about you. They manufacture artificial rivalries. They create the roles of the golden child and the scapegoat. The golden child can do no wrong. They are the pristine reflection of the parent's ego. The scapegoat can do no right. They are the receptacle for all the parent's failures, anger, and disappointment. But do not envy the golden child. The scapegoat is tortured, but the golden child is consumed. The scapegoat is pushed away, which eventually forces them to find their own strength. The golden child is kept so close, praised so heavily, and rewarded so constantly for their obedience that they completely lose their own identity. They become an empty vessel, terrified of making a single move that might displease the master. By keeping the siblings divided, jealous, and constantly fighting for scraps of parental approval, the architect guarantees that the children will never unite. They will never compare notes. They will never realize that the true enemy is sitting at the head of the table, pulling the strings. This is psychological warfare executed perfectly within the four walls of a suburban home. You are sitting there, feeling the weight of this realization. It feels heavy. It feels like a betrayal just to acknowledge it. That guilt you are feeling right now, that is the programming, that is the code they wrote into your operating system when you were too young to defend yourself. How do you destroy the programming? How do you defeat an enemy who has access to your deepest emotional source code? You must execute a strategy of emotional emancipation. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise prince should build on what is his own, not on what belongs to others." For your entire life, your sense of self-worth has been built on what belongs to them, their approval, their validation, their permission. You have been operating as a vassal state, paying taxes to a king who despises you. You must declare absolute sovereignty. You do this by accepting a terrifying, liberating truth. You are going to have to disappoint them. You must disappoint them. It is a requirement for your survival. You have to watch them throw their tantrums, orchestrate their guilt trips, and unleash their smear campaigns, and you must sit perfectly still and watch it happen without reacting. When they say, "You are breaking my heart," you must understand that you are not breaking their heart. You are breaking their control. They are panicking because the puppet just cut its own strings. Do not argue with them. Do not try to make them understand your point of view. You cannot use logic to defeat a system designed entirely around emotional control. Any explanation you provide is just ammunition they will use to reload their weapons. If they demand your presence at a family gathering designed to humiliate you, you do not go. If they text you a long, venomous paragraph of guilt, you do not reply. You leave it on read. You let the unread message hang in the air like a guillotine. You must become unbothered. You must become a fortress of absolute indifference. When you stop playing the game collapses. The Devourer of Obligation loses their host. The Envious Mirror loses their reflection. The Architect of Debt loses their ledger. You will be called cold. You will be called selfish. You will be cast out of the tribe. Good. The tribe is sick. The tribe is feeding on its own. Being cast out of a toxic system is not an exile, it is a rescue mission. You are going to feel a profound sense of grief. It will not be grief for losing them. It will be grief for the illusion you have carried your entire life. You will mourn the family you thought you had, the family you deserved but never received. Let yourself mourn that phantom, bury it, and then look at what remains. You, standing alone, unchained. For the first time in your life, your energy belongs entirely to you. Your income belongs to you. Your peace belongs to you. You are no longer funding the emotional deficits of people who refuse to heal themselves. You are no longer carrying the dead weight of a bloodline that resents your strength. You have committed the ultimate Machiavellian maneuver. You have secured your borders. You have purged the internal conspirators. You are now the undisputed sovereign of your own mind. The people who try to destroy you from the inside rely entirely on your hesitation. They rely on your hope that they will magically change into the loving, supportive family you see on television. Hope is a dangerous drug. It keeps you locked in abusive cycles waiting for a payout that will never come. Kill the hope. Deal entirely in reality. Measure them by their actions, not their titles. A brother who stabs you in the back is not a brother. He is an assassin. A mother who drains your bank account and your sanity is not a mother. She is a parasite. Strip away the labels, evaluate the threat, execute the separation. You are stepping into the therapeutic darkness. It is cold out here. It is quiet. But it is the only place where true power is forged. You are no longer a victim of your genetics. You are the architect of your own empire. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The family you build, the allies you choose, the people who earn their place at your table through loyalty and mutual respect, they are your true kin. Leave the biological predators behind in the ruins of their own making. Let them devour each other. You have an empire to build, And as you build it, as you rise higher than they ever thought possible, you will feel the shift. You will stop looking back. You will stop wondering if they approve. You will realize that their absence is the greatest gift they ever gave you. The void they left behind is not empty. It is filled with the raw, untamed potential of a life finally lived on your own terms.